Hello, 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 and welcome to the third episode of Mixed Media Reviews Season 2. My name is Kelsey, and today I'll be talking about a movie. This week's movie is Lightyear. I have heard, oh my goodness, I sound like a broken record at this point, but I have heard very little about this movie before I was able to watch it. I was aware that this was about Buzz Lightyear and like his past or something. Obviously set in Toy Story universe. I did not realize it was supposed to be the actual movie that Andy in Toy Story watches that makes him like fall in love with Buzz and get the toy until I watched the movie, because that's literally the first thing that pops up in the movie. But yeah, I mean, again, this is what I prefer, so this is never going to change. This will always be the same section. I should just copy and paste. I didn't really watch before, or I didn't read before, and yeah, that's it. And of course I have heard the stupid controversy that there was a same-sex relationship and how people got mad that sometimes there are parents that are not, a mom and dad, because that's what life is, I guess, and people are upset about it. I also almost had it spoiled for me by my best friend's 3-year-old son when we were on the floor of Comic-Con and we were looking at some Lightyear Legos, but it turns out I misunderstood what he said. So it turns out it did not spoil it for me, and I was pleased. So thanks, JB. Today's episode is going to have some minor spoilers. I'll talk about generic things of what I like, but I won't do any big twists, I don't think. Just maybe some overall themes or overall things that happen, if that makes sense, but nothing too detailed. Google's summary of Lightyear is the following. Legendary space ranger Buzz Lightyear embarks on an intergalactic adventure alongside ambitious recruits Izzy, Mo, Darby, and his robot companion, Socks. As this motley crew tackles their toughest mission yet, they must learn to work together as a team to escape the evil Zurg and his dutiful robot army that are never far behind. So I got to actually watch this movie at San Diego Comic-Con this past July, and I am so glad that I finally got to watch it. We had our badges from 2020 roll over, and while we had initially been bummed we only got the Sunday badges, it turned out actually kind of perfect because it was a nice way to ease back into Comic-Con, not only after being unable to attend the last few years, but also after not really going to many large events post-pandemic. Much better to ease on a Sunday. If you don't know, Sunday is the last day of the convention. It's kind of a half day. Things end earlier. The floor isn't open as long, and a lot of things are more kid-centered. It's like the kid day, so most of the panels are kid-friendly, and they have more kid-friendly, I think, events going on. So it's a great day to ease back into things if you've been away for a while. And we had been walking the floor all morning as well, so this was a nice break to finally sit down and eat, as the panels are traditionally used for eating, or at least for me, they were used for eating, and for one of them was for taking a nap. But yeah, it was also just really nice to be able to watch a movie with my best friend while our son napped between us, because I haven't seen her in a long time because she lives out in California. So hi, Stephanie. Thanks for being a buddy. And it was just a super cute movie, so I'm really happy that we got to watch it, and it was quite the setting to watch it in. Now, let's talk about the best thing about this movie, and that is Socks. Yes, I said it. I loved Socks. There were multiple occasions where I would look over at Stephanie sitting just a couple chairs away with my hands to my cheeks, mouth open, hearts in my eyes. Socks was just the cutest thing ever. I loved when he did the little computer things and would go meow, 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 while his head like turned around in a circle, which sounds terrifying but was super cute. And I really loved when he made beep boop noises with his little cat mouth. And I loved when he did cat things like chasing a laser pointer. And I loved when he loved Buzz with all his heart. I am a Socks fan, and I am just gushing over a robotic cat. But I want one. I want a Socks so bad. He was so So cute. Hands down, best part of the entire movie. Anyway, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I thought the opening paralleling the scene. Is that how you want to say it? Is that how I want to say it? Who's you? Is that how I want to say it? I guess it is. Okay, let's start again. Hello, my name is Kelsey. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, I thought the opening paralleling the scene in Toy Story where Buzz is scanning for life was just perfect. Perfect way to open the film, perfect way to introduce Buzz back to us, and really to drive it home that this is that Buzz, you know. It just helps tie in the version we already know versus this kind of, I guess, new version that we're meeting for the first time. It kind of ties them both together really well. The first impressions from Buzz's, both Buzz's, Buzz-Eye. The first impression that you get is that it matches up with what we know, right? He's being very stiff. He's very by the book. The whole searching for intelligent life and there is none, and somebody pops up to kind of disprove his point. It's very much that same Buzz, including how he insists that he works alone while being able to still work great in a team with somebody he knows and trusts. I loved how much more depth that this movie has than I thought it was going to have, which I know sounds weird coming from, talking about a children's movie, but it genuinely had so many layers and such complexity to it that I was very surprised and very pleasantly surprised, I might add. I think this has been more of a trend in recent years as well. Not necessarily something new, but for sure something that we are seeing, or at least that I'm noticing. Kids' movies have always kind of had some kind of moral center to them at the heart of them. I feel like the kids' movies now are also created in a way that don't dumb down their topics. Of course, I haven't seen these movies. Encanto, I've heard, is the same kind of thing where they talk about, more serious topics and kind of make it so that, people, kids of all ages are watching this and experiencing different things, and they experience the world differently. So it's nice to see that we're finally kind of adding those extra layers in, if that makes sense. I think I said things that made sense. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they were using time dilation in this movie, talking about 0.7c and 0.8c as markers for how fast they were going, it was really amazing to see such level of detail in there that's accurate and isn't necessarily them just making things up to make it sound sciencey. But using it in a way that kids will understand that, these are very fast speeds. And I liked that. I liked that a lot because it shouldn't be something that's dumbed down, right? That's how we teach kids, is because they'll be like, oh, what is 0.7c? And then they can Google it and find out what C means and all that, I also loved that Buzz was a super smart guy when he was writing an equation and creating diagrams on the window of his cockpit to do some quick math and solve a problem, and that's my AC kicking on. But it was nice to see that he's kind of able to solve problems on the fly, and he did it in a way that was kind of cool, with him writing stuff on the window of his cockpit. Alright, I turned off my AC because that was very loud. Anyway, going back to kind of thinking about how movies are becoming more, I suppose, realistic or more representative of the experiences that kids are going through. I really loved the inclusion in this movie, and I just felt like it was effortless to do so, and it came off in a way that felt effortless as well. It is just so incredibly easy to have characters from different backgrounds in the things that we watch or read, right? It's very simple to throw that in. In life, we are constantly surrounded by people who are from a different culture from us, or who have a different home life, or who just do things differently than us. We're not all the same, and we don't have all the same experiences. And I'm sure there are plenty of kids out there who will watch this movie and feel like they're not, all that different because they see that, oh, somebody else also has two moms or two grandmothers. It's such a simple thing to make kids from all different backgrounds feel like they fit in somewhere. Because when you see yourself represented on a screen, especially as a kid, it can be really powerful. So throwing in that she is gay and that she marries a woman and they have a family, I really love that because it wasn't a main sticking point that didn't make it into a big deal. It is what it is. She is a woman, she has a wife, and they have a kid, and that kid grows up with two moms, and then that kid has a kid later on, and that kid has two grandmothers, and it's not a big deal. And I really, really liked that because that is why, you watch movies and you read books. Like, you do things to find out different experiences from different people. And how wonderful is it for a kid to watch a movie and see on the screen, hey, that is my life being represented too, because I also have two moms, because for a little kid, it isn't about being politically correct or being woke or whatever other term you want to put on it. It's just about being able to say, hey, that's like my family. When you see someone in a wheelchair on the screen, or you see someone who has glasses on the screen, or curly hair, or is a girl but likes the color blue, like all of these things mimic real world things. It can be a chance for a kid to feel like they're not different just because it's not the norm of society. Not that curly hair isn't the norm, but you know what I mean. For a long time, they didn't have curly hair in animated things because it was too difficult. So, anyway, another great thing that this movie does is the philosophical depth that it has. I was certainly not expecting this, and of course, kids' movies love sadness and things like that, but usually it's because a parent passes away, and that's the sadness that you get in the movie. But this had some other, real deep things to think about. And a critique I usually have about things made for kids is that they tend to shy away from some of those real situations. And I'm not trying to say that kids' shows should always be super dark or anything, but that it's okay to touch on deeper and more meaningful topics every once in a while. It's okay to show a hero struggle or to have those darker moments intertwined because they can experience them and they can see our hero give up such a critical part of his or hers or their life and push on, but still recognize that it can make them sad. And it's such a complex story in Lightyear, the temptation to undo what has been done, to undo a mistake, but also having that undo what a lot of others have grown up knowing. There's this part where Buzz is trying to get the new guys to stay so he can go save the day by himself. Typical Buzz. And he says something like, if I'm with you, I won't be able to save you. And the granddaughter says, you don't need to save us. We need you with us. And it was such a good moment that even though Buzz's intentions were good, they were still misplaced. And listening to what others need from you is also incredibly important. They didn't need him to save them, they just needed him to be there with them. And it was a really powerful moment. There were many times in this movie where I was tearing up for sure. But again, this idea that you can show your characters have these flaws, Buzz trying to always save the day, but you can also show the way that they can grow from that flaw, and that the flaws don't just have to be very superficial or anything. They could be something more deep and more meaningful. Buzz thinking he can save the day by undoing everything that has been done, that's a big thing, because he's taking into account, the fact that he'll undo everybody else's life the way it happened for them. And that was just such a good, obviously in real life, no little kid is going to be having those same experiences, But to see these big struggles and these big, philosophical questions at a young age could really help kids kind of understand the complexity of life, and that everything that you do has consequences. Even if you think that you have good intentions, they could still be very much misplaced. Okay, and then 2 more things, and then I will move on. The first is just the sandwiches. I really loved the part about the sandwiches. I was not expecting it, and it was hilarious, and it was good. And if you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie so you can find out what I'm talking about with the sandwiches part, because it was really good. And the second part is astrophobia. Being her fear was like chef's kiss, you guys. Like, I 100% understand, because I absolutely love space, and I love learning about it. I love looking at pictures of it. I love being able to find out the science behind everything. I love space, but to be able to go to space one day, I know that part of me would be completely ecstatic, right? Like, that is incredible, I am sure. I like can't even begin to put into words and how incredible that would be. But at the same time, I know it would be super terrifying. I know I've heard astronauts talk about how intense it can be up there, being surrounded by nothing. And it is terrifying, and how she was so scared and of being up there and just going, right? Because in space, you keep going. There's nothing to slow you down or move you until you find something. And space is very empty. So you'd be going in the same direction for quite some time. Absolutely terrifying, for sure. Okay, so after all that gushing, do I have critiques for this film? Yes, I have one. At the end of the movie, they talk about, so this portion might be a little more spoilery. I'm going to be talking about kind of like the very last bit of the film, not like the, wrap up of the like story arc, but like that extra little bit, at the end of movies that kind of set it up for future things, or, have that nice little whatever ending. But yeah, so at the end of the movie, they talk about being more proactive against the alien threat, which I totally get. That makes sense. But they ended up making it look like they were just like seeking out aliens to attack. And I get that you don't want to probably wait until they're actively invading you, but shouldn't you wait until they're a threat? Otherwise, you're just the same threat that you're like trying to prevent. But maybe I misheard or misunderstood what was happening, and that wasn't what was happening, but that's what it seemed like to me, and I was not a fan of them actively seeking out aliens to threaten. Okay, so maybe I have more than one, but there's another thing. As much as I love Taika Waititi, I'm a little confused as to how he has his like New Zealand accent, because by then wouldn't everyone have the same accent, or like similar ones, or the base, whatever it is, because at that point they're like the grandchildren or children of the original settlers. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they would still have an accent, but I'm just thinking of like if they're British people that came over here and had a kid in America, their kid would probably have an American accent, or maybe a weird kind of American British way of saying things, but it would certainly go away when they had a kid. So I don't know. I mean, whatever. I like Taika, so he can do whatever he wants. I'm also not even going to mention any of the critiques I've seen about how this fits with the other Toy Story movies, or any origins, or anything they've done, because honestly, I don't know enough about it. So that's that. Of course, I recommend seeing Lightyear. I mean, if nothing else, for socks, because socks is for sure the best thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life, and that includes getting married and also having the cutest cat in the entire world. That is fully cat, not part robot. I honestly wish I had seen this movie earlier, because then I totally would have bought more socks merch at Comic-Con. But instead, it was like towards the end, and I did not buy any socks, anything. Definitely a bummer. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Lightyear. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Mixed Media Reviews Podcast. Please leave me a comment to let me know if you agreed, or if you have any suggestions, or if you completely disagreed. Just tell me all about it. You can also find me anywhere you find your podcasts, probably. Please join me next week, where I will be reviewing the book trilogy Simon Snow by Rainbow Rowell. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye!